All right, welcome to another episode of DGX Compare. This is part two of a three-part series on working with clusters. So in part one, we did Llama 3.1, and it's the 8 billion parameter model. And that was a quick demo on how clustering worked. But really, that specific model we can host on a single Spark or the single DGX system, since DGX systems have 120 gigabytes of RAM. So right now, we're going to be doing a model that is actually unable to be loaded, or if loaded, will crash very quickly. And that's going to be the Nemotron 3 120B A12B, which is 12 actual parameters. Since this is an MOE, or a model of experts type of model, and it's quantized with nvidia floating point 4. So this one is actually really good to be run on a cluster, because this cluster has two DGXs, the DGX Spark and the GN100 from Acer, and combined they have 256 gigabytes of RAM. But if you really think about it, this model, I can't remember. I think it's. I'll update the description on it. But I think it's 40 gigabytes on disk, and it's, I think, double that on with kv-cache. Not quite sure, but I think that's actually what's happening. So if you really think about it, 40 gigabytes on disk, and you split that across two, that's 20. And then if you do 80, that's 40 each. That's 60 gigabytes of RAM per, and that's assuming we only stick with 40. Anyways, either way, if you look at it, 90 gigabytes of RAM are actually being used. This one is going to be the worker node, and that's going to be the lead node. And let's go ahead and watch the GPU utilization. The expectation is token speed is going to be around 15. All right, so over here it's going to be telling me all about Stegosaurus, with Stegosaurus misspelled. And for the first pass, we're actually not going to run anything there. We'll just do one. Now pay attention to the GPU utilizations. So 94% over there. 91 gigs of RAM being used, 90 over here, and it really spiked. And if you look at the cores, they're in motion. All right, prefill is very fast, and yeah, it looks about 15 tokens per second. And again, this is a 120 billion parameter model, quantized down to 4 floating points, and so the active, it's only 12 billion active. And earlier I think it was MV4 as well, but it was such a small model, well, relatively small, at 8 billion. This one is actually running just a little bit bigger, but look at all the data or the information that's coming out. So definitely usable, and again, 120 billion parameter model. It's talking a lot. It's teaching us a lot about Stegosaurus. And while that's going, I'm actually going to go ahead and trigger this one on the top as well. Tell me all about kangaroos. And so we'll simulate a multi-user experience instead of a single user experience. A lot of the tests that people run are actually single user, so it's best case scenario. But in a small business, really, you're running 2 or 3 at a time, and you're actually probably never going to run the query on the actual server itself. You'll probably run it on a separate device. So that's what we're simulating here. So let's see. It looks like it's slowed down a little bit, but not that significant. It's probably running between, I don't know, 13 and 16, 13 and 15. Yeah, we're talking a lot about kangaroos. It's actually still on the thinking here, right? So that it's a thinking model. So it talked about what it's gonna do, and then now it's actually spelling out the actual information about kangaroos, and this is still going. So yeah, if you really think about it, these two devices, because they're clustered together, it's really unusable outside of the models themselves. I mean, you're using 90 out of 120, so that's like 67% of your memory. Same thing over here. You only have a little bit of buffer left, and loading up a couple of windows or potentially loading up a VS Code or a Jupyter Labs, that'll take you all the way to orange, maybe even red. So yeah, these big models, they just take up that much resources. I did a little bit of research of what happens when you actually cluster four together. The cool thing about the DGXs is that they come with two QSFP ports on board, so you can actually cluster two more, so you can do four pretty easily. And so you'll have 512 gigs of RAM. If that's the case and we follow this thing proportionally, then you'll probably have, I'd say, 60-60 each, or maybe even 45-45. So that's a little bit better. But still, you're spending a lot of time or resources on the cluster itself. And imagine if you had a small business and you had 4 Sparks, and 4 of them are clustered together. If just one of those goes down or an accidental reboot, then the whole cluster situation is going to be over. So you'll have to fall back to 2. So yeah, this is probably too big of a model to be using at the day-to-day level. And again, it really depends on what you're using the model for. If you're doing general queries with all sorts of stuff like Stegosaurus and Tyrannosaurus, fine, you're going to maybe need it. But if you just wanted to do some code, or some agentic approach, or potentially using some sort of file analysis, flat file analysis, you can drop down to a 30B. Those 30 billion parameter models quantized down are still pretty effective. Okay, so it looks like kangaroo's already finished, and over here, Stegosaurus also finished. Now, for whatever reason, the GPU utilization is still at 95%. I think over here it's still calculating something. I think, there's a section here called follow-up. I think it may do a follow-up down there, and then what we're expecting to see is that the GPU utilization will drop down. We'll watch it for a couple more minutes. I'll do a couple of enters here, see what happens. Oh, there we go. So it's dropped down to 6, dropped down to 5, and yeah, so resources are freed up now. I don't know if I needed to press enter. I think it would have done that automatically. But if you're looking at the cores, there we go, it's tapered down already. Same thing right over here. Let's take a look. Let's feel the heat. I have fans installed. It's okay. It's not. Can't really hear it because it's really not doing much. But pretty reasonable, pretty stable. So yeah, there we have it. Part 2. This is a Nemotron 3 Super, and it's a 120 billion parameter model, quantized to NVIDIA FP4 with 12 billion active parameters.